Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this webinar on decentralized renewable energy solutions for food value chains in the HKH region. I am Mewan Gelsen, the program coordinator for the REACH initiative at the ICIMOD. As we grapple with aftermath of economic losses as a result of coronavirus and adverse effects of climate change, the smallholder agriculture production system, reeling amid mountain-specific challenges, continue to be of main source of food and livelihood in the mountains. The food systems, which include a wide range of processes, use of infrastructures and technology that actually shape the way we produce food and consume, provide a host of opportunities for innovations and transformation to bring about system efficiencies and productivity in our farming system to reduce poverty and hardships being faced by the people in mountain. Access to reliable renewable energy solutions actually unlocks and taps these opportunities to improve the competitiveness and climate resilience of agriculture value chains, increase food productivity, generate employment, improve food quality, and address food insecurity. It is in this context that ICIMOD, the International Renewable Energy Agency, and the SELCO Foundation have come together to assess the viability of decentralized renewable energy solutions for food value chains in the HKH region, collectively bringing in resources, technical expertise, and networks. The purpose of this webinar is to discuss the findings of the assessment studies, highlight techno-economic viability of renewable energy for food value chains in the HKH region, demonstrate market opportunities to entrepreneurs and technology providers, and share best practices across the region. This webinar is attended by government officials, academicians, financing institutions, investors, entrepreneurs, technology suppliers, practitioners from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, India, Nepal, and Pakistan, other international organizations and international support group represented by UNIDO. We receive inquiries from far and wide and would sincerely like to thank all the participants for your interest and finding time to attend this event. In today's 1.5-hour program, Inges, opening remarks by ICIMOD and IRENA officials to outline the context-based value chain analysis by ICIMOD, technical and commercial analysis by SELCO, moderated discussions, and the closing remarks. To have productive discussions, let me also announce few housekeeping rules. Please keep your microphone on mute when others are speaking. If network is weak, you may please switch off your videos. Raise your hand when you have questions. The moderators will let you speak, and unmute microphone when speaking. If you have comments and inputs, please type in the chat box. If you have the difficulty to hear the voice while meeting is in the progress, please exit and rejoin again using the same link. These discussions will be recorded and shared in our website for wider dissemination. So without much ado, let me now invite Nanki Ko, the Regional Program Manager, Adaptation and Resilience Building Regional Program at ICIMOD, for the welcome note. Over to you, Nanki.
Thank you, Mewang. Good morning and welcome to our workshop on decentralized renewable energy solutions in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. This workshop today is going to explore the important role that decentralized renewable energy plays in strengthening the resilience of food value chains in the Kush Himalaya. As most of us who are attending this workshop are well aware, our region is rich in different sources of renewable energy. But when it comes to evidence and understanding of how renewable energy can improve consumption and production amongst mountain communities in key sectors like agriculture, we have there is a dearth of information in this area. So this workshop, just to set the context, it's part of our work under our regional initiative on renewable energy and energy efficient capabilities in the Hindu Kush Himalaya, the short form which we refer to as REACH. You might hear this abbreviation quite often. REACH is part of a global network of energy centers and one of the first centers that actually focuses on renewable energy specifically in the mountain region or in a mountain context. So under REACH, we are working with our partners to specifically to generate mountain-specific evidence that can then shape policy, investment, and capabilities to address, firstly, energy poverty in the mountains, and secondly, to address to improve the productive end use of energy by small mountain enterprises. So this is in both these areas, energy poverty in the mountains and productive end use by small mountain enterprises are two areas where there isn't sufficient focus, there isn't sufficient evidence or policy direction or investment flowing into this. So that's one of the main reasons that we are focusing on this. And through this work, we aim to strengthen the resilience of mountain communities and enterprises, by which we mean this means improved energy access, better productivity, better job opportunities, more sustainable business models. So these are some of the things that we are aiming to contribute to as we move forward. And on behalf of ICIMOD, we are very proud to be working with IRENA and SELCO Foundation. I think we're all aware that both of them are considered as gold star organizations when it comes to the renewable energy space. So we are very happy to be working with them, and I look forward to our discussion today. Thank you, Mewang.
Thank you, Nanki, for setting the context and what REACH steps to do and what we are doing in collaboration with our partners. With this, let me now invite Mr. Amjad Abdullah, who is the head of the partnership at the IRENA, for the opening remarks. Prior to his joining at IRENA, Mr. Amjad has actually served at various distinguished positions, including as the Director General, Climate Change and Multidisciplinary Team Leader at the Ministry of Environment of the Maldives. Over to you, Amjad.
Thank you very much. A very good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to be part of this important validation workshop on decentralized renewable energy solutions for food value chains in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, a joint effort by IRENA, ICIMOD, and the STELCO Solar Light Private Limited. I would also like to extend a warm welcome and thanks to our regional partner, ICIMOD, for their continued collaboration and support throughout this important program. At the outset, I also wish to extend a very warm welcome and extend a sincere appreciation to the expert participants for taking time out for providing your valuable feedback to this important work on a very important and interesting topic. This viability assessment essentially builds upon IRENA and ICIMOD's joint efforts on conducting a comprehensive scoping exercise to assess selected economic value chains, yak, bamboo tourism, for example, in the Hindu-Kush region, from energy perspective to identify the gaps and potential actions for advancing renewable energy solutions. The current assessment exercise is, in some ways, a deeper dive into the food value chains of the region with an aim to determine the viability of decentralized renewable energy solutions to add value and concrete opportunities for local entrepreneurship. I would also like to add that for the IRENA, the crucial nexus for energy access and development priorities, such as food security, water availability, health and well-being, is an increasingly important topic, especially as we push for universal access to energy by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, improved availability of reliable and affordable energy in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, or in fact, in any mountain community, can greatly improve lives and livelihoods of the communities. The cost competitiveness of the decentralized renewable energy solutions, along with their flexibility, modularity, and adaptability, make them ideal for deployment in remote and off-grid communities to drive economic growth while also ensuring that the delicate ecological setting of such area remains unaffected. Dear participants, we all know the penetration of renewables can significantly improve food systems and supply chains in low resource settings by providing opportunities for modernization and efficiency in farming practices, food processing, treatment, storage, and distribution. With growing domestic demand, such interventions can positively contribute to food security and agricultural productivity of such communities. In IRENA, we realized to have a clear understanding on the nodal points of renewable energy interventions. There is a great need to document energy flows and needs along different segments of the economic value chains of mountain communities. Again, building up on that, IRENA and ICIMOD, with the support of SELCO, conceptualized and developed a joint project that intends to advance the understanding of the energy needs in the agri-food chains in mountain communities to facilitating the deployment and adaptation of off-grid renewable energy solutions across them. Key findings from the assessment conducted for selected value chains will be presented today as we seek the views of experts and stakeholders from across the region to add further nuance and refinement to the assessment. I'm confident and sure that this workshop will also provide an opportunity to the stakeholders from different backgrounds, including technology providers, investors, donors, and entrepreneurs to meet, build up their portfolio based on the assessment findings. Before conclude, I wanted to thank once again ICIMOD, SELCO, and of course IRENA, my staff, for their very pertinent work, and wish you all a very fruitful deliberations and discussions. I thank you very much.
Anu, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anu Joshi, Shrestha Enterprise and Value Chain Specialist here at ICIMOD, and it is really good to be presenting on the energy baseline study for food value chain and HKH. We actually did quite an in-depth study in terms of how energy is used in this mountain value chains, and as already expressed, it is important to really look at energy solutions and how small and medium enterprises in the mountain can benefit from the renewable energy, decentralized renewable energy solutions. With this, I, on behalf of my team, Abid Hussain, Lipi Adhikari Sabarni, would really like to welcome you all, and will start my presentation. As expressed earlier, renewable energy can play an important role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions while providing commercial incremental financial resources to stimulate green development mechanism, providing win-win solutions. Therefore, we really thought in value chains it is very important to really see what renewable energy it can play in terms of production, harvesting, grading, sorting, processing, packaging, and transporting. So our initiative, as expressed by Nanki REACH initiative at ICIMOD, really aims to build and further strengthen climate resilient mountain livelihood at the Hindu-Kush Himalaya region by improving access to poor and vulnerable mountain communities to renewable energy and energy efficient solutions. We're also working, as expressed earlier, that we're working together with IRENA and SELCO to develop green and sustainable food value chains to enhance the livelihood of mountain communities while making efficient use of renewable energy. Initially, the idea was we really wanted to work all across HKH and find what could be the renewable energy availability and the use of it, and how we can actually prioritize and see what solution can be provided. However, because of COVID, and lockdown and restrictions, we could not really travel much, and the movement was restricted, which resulted to the change of plan of country selections. After a lot of discussions with internal and external experts, and we decided that we would boil it down to 2 countries based on the high possibility of travel and presence of similar ecological zone in hill and mountain areas, and situations of renewable energy accessibility in those areas. So therefore, we would be, the study is, the baseline study that we've conducted is in these 2 countries, Bhutan and Nepal, which can be scalable to similar zones in the HKH countries. So just to really get into how the selection process happened, why we chose the value chains that we chose was there was a very in-depth study in terms of what value chain should we then look at, what are the commercial value chains in the mountain which we could prioritize, and that was really done through a lot of literature review, government priorities and related policies and plans and strategies that we have. And also prioritization was also based on the prioritization assessment. We developed a criteria, gave a weighted method for those prioritized value chains, and then came up to 2 food products that are really prevalent in the mountain areas and could be really a commercial product in future, as well as which has a bigger outreach to a lot of farmers who has the potential to be entrepreneurs in the mountains. And we also looked at 2 value chains which are in the mountains and in the mid-hills as well, so that like we can cater to larger ecological zones in the HKH region. And after that, we did a in-depth SWOT analysis for these 2 value chains to identify their strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. And we engaged external experts as well to really do this SWOT analysis for us. And therefore, 2 value chains were selected from Nepal and Bhutan. The methodology is really rigorous. One was literature review. We did a lot of study because due to lockdown as well, we actually got a lot of time to really do an in-depth literature review, looking at a lot of articles, data, policies, plans, and etc. Then we also did quantitative assessment where we developed questionnaires, we hired enumerators as well, and then identified entrepreneurs at all levels to really focusing on use of renewable energy in these food value chains and the estimation of cost and benefit, energy supplies and demand, and challenges faced to use these renewable energies in the mountain. Parallel data analysis from the literature review documents as well as our own findings from the quantitative analysis was done, and then results and interpretation was done, and the report was shared with our partners as well. So basically, when we looked at the value chains, we looked at buckwheat and vegetables for Nepal and potato and yak for Bhutan. And in this, we looked at we identified 10 entrepreneurs at all levels, from production, processing, wholesaling and retailing, to really see what are the energy use that they are doing in these value chain. For vegetable, we added 1 more who was also enabling support that the entrepreneurs was providing. So basically, we had 41 entrepreneurs here, and most of the entrepreneurs and the enterprises overlapped their functions in terms of production and processing. So you can see numbers increasing here, but then their role was overlapping with the various functions that we laid out. So in terms of buckwheat value chain, when we did our survey, we really saw that most of the value chains that we surveyed in the mountains and also in the hills, it is at a nation stage. So farmers were doing mostly all the functions from production, processing, and wholesaling, and then they give it to the retailers, and then it goes to the consumers. A few of the entrepreneurs was, apart from the flour that was there, which was going to the local market, they were also giving it to the bakery, buckwheat was also coming up as a superfood for the urban market, and there was the demand was created. Initially, farmers only used to grow buckwheat for self-consumption and for their livestock, but now gradually the commercialization is happening, and bakeries and other value additions have been done, and therefore it is having that a little stronger value chain, with bakery coming in, retailers coming in, and going to the urban market. If you look at production, processing, production end, apart from transportations, usually for production no energy was used. It is like basically the normal sowing, harvesting, land preparation done manually. And in terms of processing, a little bit of electricity or water mill was also used in terms of making a flour out of buckwheat. And for transportation, it is liquid fuel that is used, and packaging and sealing, electricity, grid energy, that electricity was used. And for branding, marketing, selling, shops were using the electricity to electrify their shops. So basically, if you see, not much of the energy was required in this value chain. However, we see a lot of potential to really add value, and then at each node, and mechanize this system so that there can be better efficiency in this value chain. Vegetable is one of the most commercial value chain that the farmers in Nepal are into, and sometimes it is the mainstay as well in districts like Kavri, and most of them are engaged in vegetable production. However, for this vegetable production, farmers, it goes to the market as fresh vegetables. So farmers directly sell their vegetables to the local market in mandis and hatias, and therefore, it's not much of the energy use happened in a vegetable value chain. However, it is a little more organized, having these farmers cooperatives, aggregation happening. Also, they were planning a little bit of cold storage plans was there, where they have the store in place, and it goes to the local market and wholesalers and retailers to consumers. So basically, while they are sorting, grading, gas fuel was also used, and to dry their vegetable, they're also drying it, sun drying it, but at a primitive stage, not like solar energy was as an equipment was not used. However, they were sun drying their vegetable. Lot of potential in this vegetable as well, because the market is demands frozen vegetables or ready to use vegetable, which could not happen because the energy that is available was not there in the mountain areas or in the hills area. So we see a lot of potential there, but then at this point of time, it is more fresh vegetable going into the local market as well as in the urban market as well. For potato in Bhutan, it is again a very organized and commercial value chain that most of the entrepreneurs in the mountains are engaged in, and also very much looking forward to gaining income from potato value chain. However, as of now, if you see, in the mountains as well, it is still at a nation stage where we have potato growers selling directly to the local consumers, but since it is a little more at a scale, there is an auction yard as well for potato value chain, which goes to the urban consumer in Thimphu as well as also goes to India. And small enterprises are also coming up with various ideas like potato chips, which they really want to penetrate in the urban market. And there is a lot of potential for value addition and potato value chain as well. Therefore, the energy use basically, apart from transportation for liquid fuel, it is grid electricity that has been used in terms of making it powder or making chips, or also in cold storage, electricity has been used, and for packaging, sealing part as well, electricity has been used. Awareness in terms of renewable energy, if you see in this value chain, is very, very low. They were still in quite, the grid electricity is quite accessible, so that's what they're using as of now. But other forms of renewable energy is something that there is a very little knowledge in the entrepreneurs that we surveyed in Bhutan. Yak Value Chain, the mountain value chain, it also represents a lot of the mountain, probably commercial products that are in the high mountains. This is basically, if you see it, is at a family business level where all the functions is done by the yak herder themselves, from production, processing, wholesaling and retailing. And the whole family goes to the human pastoral families who travels up in the mountains in summer, and they do heating. There are three major products that are coming out from yak value chain, from milk of yak. One is soft cheese, hard cheese, and butter for their shelf life. And all these value additions in the mountains, as they are herding in the mountains, they use yak dung and firewood to process their products. And these days, initially it used to be the whole family who's going up, but nowadays it is men members who goes up for herding, and women stays back to sell their products. So if you see, it is basically the family business in this chain, and from those family goes to the local market and urban consumers in Thimphu as well, if they give it to the local vendors in Thimphu. So at a very nascent stage, but at each point, even if it is churning, drying, heating, dehydrating, if there could be some customized renewable energy solutions, then more and more people might then be interested in getting into this yak value chain, which has a very good potential in the market. However, since it is really time-consuming activities, most of them, they say it is really tasking for them to be engaged in value addition part of it. So probably renewable energy can be a solution here to ease off the processes. So our major findings for the mountain value chains that we selected is value chains are more at a subsistence level, and very little value additions is done at a local level in the mountains. Therefore, limited use of renewable energy, making quantification of energy use in the mountains insignificant, because at each node, if you see, very little energy is being used, and therefore how do we quantify those energy that has been used was a question. And then, since there are not much of the quantification kilowatt, how much of kilowatt are they using? Since it is very, very low, it was very difficult. Insignificant, it was very difficult for us to quantify it. There is a strong need for energy solution to advocate a value within these value chains, as I expressed earlier as well, there can be a lot of potential and there can be a lot of energy solutions that can be added, and we really need to study what are the areas where we can add that energy solutions in those value chains. Also, there is a need for customization and promotion of RE solutions to befit mountain context. The energy solutions, RE solutions that are there in the plains might not work in the mountains, maybe because of the scale, or maybe because it is not portable enough, or electricity is not the kilowatt is not enough. So we really need to customize those and promote it in the mountain context as well. Inadequate availability of technical assistance and required supply for setting up, operation and maintenance of facilities. Capacity is a very important aspect, and there is a need to really build this ecosystem of service to flourish energy solutions in the mountain. Majority of enterprises were not aware of any government or private schemes or policy related to renewable energy in the mountains, and it is also reported that RE investment costs, limited or no availability to credit facilities, other major barrier to switch to or continue using RE. Use of energy is limited to transportation in the form of petroleum products, and some enterprises are using grid electricity for labeling, branding, and selling their products. So these are the major findings that we have, and in terms of recommendation, as I'm running out of time and I really want to rush fast. Capacity, as I said, is a very, very important aspect. Skills enhancement on decentralized renewable energy at local level to provide services for setting up and maintenance and everything, to really build confidence on for the rural enterprise is very, very important. Again, a in-depth study on food energy nexus would be very important, as well as project development on decentralized renewable energy solutions in the mountain should be given priorities. Product diversification and value addition at each node of the chain, as I said it, which probably give them to cater to this growing green and organic market would really make this value chain more robust and promote, build resilience of small and medium, small and medium enterprises in the mountains. Very importantly, innovations and customizations, redesigning the RE solutions in the mountain to build resilience of the enterprises is also very, very important to bring efficiency and mechanization in production, system processing, quality improvement, and marketing. Also, one very important aspect is, which drives probably the whole energy, renewable energy sector, is government policies, their plans and programs to promote renewable energy with financial incentives should be accessible to small and medium enterprises, and they should know about it. Awareness is very, very important, and also to encourage as MSMEs to really use or opt for RE solutions is also very important, which would probably, which would in fact would benefit enterprise and country as a whole in a long run. With this, I would really like to thank you all for listening to our baseline, energy baseline for food value chains, which might be applicable to others as well, and look forward to any suggestions.
Thank you, Anu, for the very comprehensive the presentations. The findings and recommendations are very significant. While we have 10 slot kept for discussions, the later part, but however, if there are any burning questions, from the part, we'd like to solicit one or two questions, if any. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and we'll see and hand over, for the answers to our colleagues who made the presentations. Now, Naraj, the floor is yours.
Thank you for this a very interesting presentation on this topic. agriculture food value chain, which is very relevant, and especially considering the decentralized renewable energy solutions and targeting to especially the rural and remote areas where most of the population from Hindu Kush Himalayan region, the Himalayan populations are living. This is very relevant. Thanks to the organizing team for this workshop. I just wanted to make a quick comment and send my apologies because I have to leave little early because of other pre-committed meeting from 12. Just a small contribution to the discussion. AEPC is working with the decentralized renewable energy solutions for a long time, and especially considering this topic of agriculture and food value chain. We have been promoting various technologies and solutions which are really relevant for this topic. For example, solar dryers for drying of agriculture products like a potato or apple or tea or cardamom or gunruk, local products like maseura. So these are some of the products which can be converted into high value products by using renewable energy solutions, and also by using renewable energy solutions like solar pumping. We can create good agriculture production available at the local level by availing the irrigation facility. So these are some of the areas where we could really work directly with the partners and make joint efforts and share our experiences and learning. And at the same time, by using decentralized renewable energy, we could work with the local communities or community-based organizations or local governments, especially to promote micro, small, and medium type enterprises using renewable energy and converting the agriculture products into high value products. So in this area, AEPC will be very happy to partner with the collaborate with the partners who are active in this sector. Once again, thank you for inviting me. I'll remain till 12, but I have to leave after 12. My apologies in advance for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nauraji, for your interventions. May I now invite Oliver?
Yes, hello everybody. This is Olivier Dubois from Coordinator for your work on energy for the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. Greetings from Rome. I have a couple of questions. I haven't seen anything on the types of renewable energy that have been considered. The reason why I'm saying this is that people tend to focus on solar, but at first glance, there are also other types which might be feasible, such as mini hydro, and also the using of residues from food chains, especially at points of aggregation like markets, cooperatives, or auction points. And so this is the first question. The second question is, I haven't actually seen any results from the cost-benefit analysis. And the reason why I'm saying this is that in FAO we have developed a methodology to undertake a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis. So not only looking at the financial CBA, but also the environmental costs and benefits, the social costs and benefits, and so on. So these are kind of two questions. One on the types of renewable energy that have been considered, and if there's any results from the cost-benefit analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you so much. Again, this is Gopal Sarangi from Terry School of Advanced Studies. Thank you for inviting me. I just said quick comments on primarily structured around three different dimensions. One is basically when you look at these kind of interventions, are you looking at specific technologies? Because depending on technology, your intervention should ideally be structured. Second is when you think of interventions based on decentralized renewable energy solutions, it is also important given the context of Hindu Kush Himalayan region. You will also have to look at the affordability question into consideration when you devise this kind of interventions for agricultural supply chain. Third, what I see is that given my experience in the field of the pricing of electricity particularly, if you are trying to or kind of thinking of decentralized energy interventions, which is grid connected, you'll also have to ensure that regulatory mechanism is designed in such a way that the pricing structure would be helping the farmers, because otherwise you are not very clear whether the tariff structure is for agricultural sector or for residential sector. So there is no clarity as of now. What would be will it be a different tariff structure when you are actually supplying electricity from grid-based electrification process? So these are quick three different issues that I want to highlight. If you want me to elaborate on all these, I can do that, maybe probably later. Thank you once again for giving me the chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gopalji. I think for the interest of time, probably we can only, accommodate a question after, whatever we had. Maybe perhaps, if Anu or Abid can just summarize, just, in a very short and see, because much of the question being asked is going to be answered when we have the next session, actually. Over to you.
Thank you very much for questions or queries raised. Related to Oliver's question, types of energy, we are mainly focusing on solar energy and microhydro in terms of renewable energy, decentralized sources. So related to cost benefit analysis, yes, we have collected data on production, all costs we have assessed and the benefits are assessed. So we have analyzed that. Because of time constraint, we have not put in the slides. So if you need some details or some explanation, we will be providing later part of the session. Related to Gopalji's question, thank you very much. Gopal, these are morely suggestions. Most of these suggestions, when we cover second part of our presentation, will be given by SELCO colleagues. So you can also elaborate it. We have done work together also on some energy aspects. So we will surely benefit from your suggestions in the end also. Thank you very much. Of course, we will be giving you opportunity to elaborate on that regulated price mechanisms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abid. Ali, we are going to get over to the next sessions. Any burning questions from your end?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that, thank you, Mivangji, that, the technological details, how different technologies are assessed for different nodal points and the cost benefit analysis is coming in the next presentation just now. So perhaps, just responding to Olivier.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Maybe then let me invite Mr. Dipayan Sarkar, who is the Chief Manager of Research and Development Policy and also the the Executive Secretary to the CEO from SELCO Solar Light Private Limited, and Mr. Shiripati Hadigal, the Program Manager from SELCO Foundation, to present the technical and commercial analysis of the chosen food value chains. Over to you, Dipayan.
Thank you, Mevangji, Shripati here, and also along with Deepayan as well. Thank you so much, Mevangji and everyone at ICIMOD and also everyone who's joined. I think it's a great opportunity for SELCO to be part of the session and also present our joint work, the collaboration work that we did with ICIMOD and IRENA. So just as a quick sort of structure for this, we are going to go through all these points from the overview to some of the techno-commercial solution analysis that we did, also along with the business case example. Just to sort of give a quick how SELCO sort of approaches the whole SDG 7, the sustainable energy, along with the livelihood energy nexus. So for us, even when we sort of work with this project as well, keeping the end user, the sort of the vulnerable end user at the center, how does the technological, financial, and delivery model innovation that we sort of bring in through these three approaches that we have mentioned at the bottom, the ecosystem approach of how do you look, the beyond technological approach. So it's, yes, I think technology is one piece, but then how do you look at the other sort of elements around the solution as well? And also, I think the one at the center, the value chain, is something which very critical, and for this project as well was at the centerpiece as well. So how do you look at the solutions, the meaningful solutions at different nodal points, so that it's not just we are focusing on only sort of one nodal point. And also along with those two, how does it actually create an asset for the end user, and also brings that local ownership for these solutions at the end user level, at the poor end user level. So these are the sort of three pillars of approaches that we looked at when the SELCO looked at when we were sort of doing this analysis as well. And then it creates the increase in income, obviously considering the vulnerabilities of these in the Hindu-Kush Himalaya region, the resilience against a lot of the climate shocks, obviously reduction in drudgery as well. And also, I think one of the things around the aspiration, the increased aspiration for the end users as well, and obviously looking at the product diversification at different nodal points and for different entrepreneurs as well. So very quickly, before getting into the details of the analysis that my colleague is going to take forward. So this is how we look at the value chain approach for agri and energy, SDG 7 and agri nexus approach. So obviously at each level of the value chain, we look at what would be the right technology, what would be the right delivery model, what would be the right financial model that would make sense at each of those nodal points, and then understanding the gaps in each of these stages, then bringing in different stakeholders, different solutions to make sure that it's making sense on the ground as well. And then also one of the other critical points is to actually look at the interlinkages between that. As Anuji was very, saying a critical point there, saying especially in this sort of, very nascent stage of the ecosystem, nascent stage of the value chains in Nepal and Bhutan and other Hindu-Kush Himalaya region, many of the activities happen at the farm level, at the producer level. Then how do we sort of look at the interlinkages between these nodal points also becomes very critical. So with this, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Deepayan Sarkar, who is going to sort of lead the discussion session on the value chain analysis as well as the business cases. So over to you, Deepayan.
Thank you so much, Shripati. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am Deepayan from SELCO Solar Light Private Limited, and I am going to be speaking to you today about the preliminary technical and financial viability analysis of identified renewable energy-based solutions for 4 value chains across Hindu-Kush Himalaya region. Today, when we are talking about climate change, and it has shown its brutal reality through various natural calamities, misbalances in environmental sustainability, right from, if you see the Nepal earthquake to the recently occurred glacier burst at India's Uttarakhand's Chamoli, it shows how important it is to talk on to protect and develop a better, stable socio-economic situation of this Hindu-Kush Himalaya region, which is having a population over 210 million population, right? So sustainable development is an idea that human societies must live and meet their needs without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. And today we will be giving, through this presentation, we will be giving the reality, or just to talk about the vulnerable living condition and how the local population of this HKH regions people, they're relying heavily on local natural resources, and they also access these traditional methods of animal husbandry and subsistence farming on small plots or lands, right? So before you go into these value chains of buckwheat, yak, potato, and vegetables, particularly for Gundruk. So I would just like to mention what is a value chain. Value chain is a step-by-step business model or a process for transforming a product to a service from idea stage to the reality stage. So value chain helps in increase business efficiency or the outcome. So the business or a process can deliver the most value for the least possible cost, right? So just with this introduction, I'll proceed to the next slide. So overall objective, I think it was already covered by Anuji, and little bit it was covered by Shripati. So I will not go into the details of it. So if we just talk about the methodology, which Anuji has already covered. So we had distributed this part into 2 ways. One was in the field, where the entire ICIMOD and SELCO Foundation colleagues, what they had done, they had made the assessment forms through which actually the data was collected. So it was discussed with 2 type of partners. One was the respondents and another one was the data collectors. So proper training happened for them, and then they collected the data and information. which ultimately came as a formal data to SELCO. And after we got the collected data, we processed the data and we analyzed the data. So finally, what we came up with a documentation with technical analysis and financial analysis, and of course with the secondary research. So through this process, we are recommending different energy efficiency drive through electrical, mechanical, and efficiency improvement. And also we had given the financial analysis, how much budget it will be, how much budget we have to estimate in terms of those regions from where the data was collected. And at last, we had given some suitable case studies or the recommendations. So due to the time constraint, we will be only talking about one case study at the end of this presentation. So if we just give a little context of the buckwheat, so buckwheat is considered as a sixth staple food crop after rice, wheat, maize, and finger millet and barley in Nepal. So buckwheat is becoming very popular day by day, and in Bhutan also it has a great demand. As you see the data, which says 70% of the marginal farmers actually depend on buckwheat. So we had just collected one case from the data collected by ICIMOD team. So just to give an idea of the scenario in Nepal, so buckwheat is generally grown in hilly areas and not in plain areas, where the output of the crop will be somewhere around 6 kg per annum. And the maximum output on an average from a farmer will be 200 kg. So final product, whatever comes out of buckwheat is as flour, buckwheat flour, right? And irrigation method they are following within the entire process is basically rain-fed irrigation method, where they need around 1,000 liter of water per ropani. And right now, the current practices doesn't involve any extra fertilizer for the buckwheat cultivation, and the entire cycle takes approximately 60 to 90 days overall. So if we look into the value chain process, which starts from the land preparation, then sowing, irrigation, weeding, and then if any fertilizer or manure is involved into that, then harvesting, natural drying, crushing, winnowing, grading, destoning, packaging, dehusking, and at last flowering. So we had gone through the entire process, and when we collected the data, tried to understand what are the nodal points where renewable energy-based solution makes sense. So if we just quickly go through the solutions which were proposed by SELCO India, so if you see, considering all the processes, whatever we mentioned before, so just as an example, if we plan for a solar powered portable irrigation pump, so I had given 1 HP capacity because of understanding their regular demand. So which approximately needs 900 watt peak of panel, and which cost with the unit and the tricycle, it actually needs around 2,40,000 Nepalese rupee. Similarly, for weeding machine, right now there is no opportunity for introducing any renewable energy-based solution because it's completely done manually. Whereas an improved solution in terms of mechanical efficiency, a very good mechanical solution actually can reduce labor cost. Then also, if we talk about solar powering agricultural insecticide sprayer, so we will show you like different kind of devices which actually can be solar powered, and lot of energy, conventional energy consumption can be reduced. Similarly, right now there are manual practices like threshing, winnowing, and all such things. So in the report, it has been given in very much detailed scenario that how introducing an energy efficient motor actually can change the scenario. So at the end of the value chain of buckwheat, we had also given a scenario where grader with aspirator, destoner, huller, and sealing machine for packaging of the buckwheat flour. Actually, it can change the entire scenario, and it can really come as a very good option to access renewable energy based solution, particularly for solar. And wherever one of the participants mentioned, if it can be powered through hydro and any other source of renewable energy, that really makes sense. So these are some of the solutions where we had given some photos. You can see if it is a portable pumping solution or a PSP, then it can be looking like this. Then different kind of machineries, right from the sprayer to winnowing machine to the grading machine, everything actually from SELCO's experience, we have actually converted a lot of such machineries to be running through renewable energy solutions like solar, and it is really working well. So the similar kind of applications we can also provide for buckwheat value chain. So we will move to the next value chain, which is yak value chain. So yak is basically considered, it's an amazing animal, which while providing human with amazing while providing humans with a means of subsistence. They generally yaks live in a very high altitude area, which is basically 2000 to 4000 meter of altitude, and yak farming is becoming it was at a point of time, it was very conventional method, and lot of people, they were involved into this. But now it is what is happening, the young generation, they are not finding it very attractive because of lot of hard work, and they are moving to the nearest cities for labor job. So the interest towards yak value chain or yak farming, it is actually reducing day by day. So we also tried to involve a lot of energy related interventions, especially energy efficiency drive and renewable energy based applications, where a lot of labor work can be can be managed with machineries which is solar powered, because a lot of the areas we had found from the data whatever we had collected, it's not those areas don't have any kind of energy access, not conventional energy access or renewable energy based access. So if we see the entire value chain of yak, so this is the conventional value chain, where after a calf, they go for shelter and grooming, and then milking of the yak, then weaning, and then feeding, and then the matured yak go for animal husbandry. And within that process, we see a lot of other sub processes are also done, and then the life cycle ends. If we just focus more into this, just a little more scenario on the yak in general, for any yak farmer. So what they're doing, they are actually each farmer has approximately 40 to 50 yaks, and the average milking per group of yak will be approximately 40 liter minimum, and maximum will be 80 to 90 liter. And the milking yield is very less for yak. It's basically 3 liter per yak on an average. And main product, as Anuji mentioned, it's cheese, either soft cheese or hard cheese. And commercialization of milk product, yes, it's happening through mainly through cheese. And there are a lot of requirements for energy based interventions, which are actually not looked into the entire yak value chain as a vaccination, because a lot of yaks, they are brought down to the valleys where there will be a process of vaccination for these domestic animals, but they cannot bring vaccines to the top of the hill because of the lacking of the cold value chain overall, right? So without talking further, I will just go into the milk value chain process. Whereas first the milking is done from the yak, and then fermentation of milk happens, and then mainly the buttercream and the buttermilk or skim milk is available from the yak milk. And basically what happens for the yak milk, if we are talking about butter, it is usually 80% of the milk fat, while the cream is only 30 to 55% of the milk fat, right? So after they get the byproducts, what they do, especially for the skim milk, they boil, and the next process would be coagulation. And after that, through internal processes, they do hard cheese and soft cheese, right? And then mainly the demand is for hard cheese, and they make into pieces, and then they do packaging, and then they go for the trading. So if we go to the next slide, what are the possibilities for renewable energy based intervention for yak milk value chain? If we see, the input is for the feed management for the yak, right? And for the so this is done very conventionally. They generally, the yaks, they go for natural vegetation 80 to 90% of the entire duration of a year. But there are some lean periods where grasses are not available, and definitely if vegetables or any kind of grasses are available, and if any process involved where you collect those things, and then you feed it not in the land, but if you bring those things shed, and if you go through a shaft cutter, then definitely that makes sense, right? And then in the production stage, if you see, the milking machine can be a challenge here, because in India and other neighboring countries, we have seen a lot of cow milking machine, right? it may be a single cluster or double cluster, but similarly, yak milking machine is also, I mean, we are going through some kind of research documents. It is there in the research stage, but I think it can really reduce the hard work or drudgery when anyone is doing the milking of yak. And then in the collection stage, we must need the cold storage if any plan is there for packaging of the milk and then sell it to the cooperative or to the government, then definitely it needs a cold storage. And also while collecting the milk, this also needs that how much is the weight of the milk and what is the fat content within that. So definitely milk tester and weighing machine makes sense there. And at the end of the entire value chain for yak milking, so if we look into the end products like cheese, butter and then cream, then different kind of products like cheese, butter churner, cream separator, all such machines which are available in the market really make sense. As a small example, when we look to the market, there are different kind of processing machines. If we consider the cream separator, there are machines where it is available at 160 liter per hour capacity, and which is having only 0.25 HP motor, which is basically AC. It can be converted in DC also, and easily can be solar powered. Similarly, for the churning, I mean butter churning, we can easily get 20 to 25 watt motor, DC motor or AC motor, and that can be easily powered through solar or any other source of renewable energy. So similarly, if we see the interventions and the cost behind it, so at each of the stages of the value chain, if we see from the shaft cutter to this electric cream separator machine, and also if we also think about like collecting the yak dung, which is a great source of cooking and different other activities, that we can produce yak dung log machine, which will be really beneficial for the local people, and it also encourages using of natural resources and how to protect the environment. So this entire calculation was done in Bhutanese currency, since we got all the details from the sites of Bhutan. So these are some machines. If you see, the first one is the shaft cutter, and the second one is the cow milking machine, which is a very common practice in SELCO's. I mean, in SELCO's product line, it is a very common product right now. We have lot of single cluster and double cluster machines. So similarly, you can think for yak milking also. Then the next picture is for milk separator, weighing machine, and milk tester, and yak dung log machine is also given. So this all can be solar powered. Then if we talk about the potato value chain, potato is also a very it's a major crop within Bhutan and Nepal. So we just try to give some snapshot, because it provides at around 79% of the livelihood base for the total Bhutanese population, right? So this has been given as minimal, whatever the capacity Bhutan and Nepal has, how much yield we got, from 2017 data, what is the yield, what is the production, and what will be the area harvested for growing potato in Nepal and Bhutan. So if we come to the value chains, there are three levels. One is farmers level, then traders level, and then consumers level. In farmers level, the process is pretty same like other vegetables and any other crop: land preparation, sowing, irrigation, grading, fertilization, and harvesting. When you talk about storage, it mainly we have seen in Bhutan there are not availability of cold storages where they can put seed potatoes and other type of potatoes. When the lean period is there, when the demand is very there, they have to take potato from outside of Bhutan, whereas Bhutan grows enough organic potato, and in international market the demand is very high. So in the traders level, if you see, after storage, grading can be done, packaging, transportation, and then sales happens. In the consumers level, like the potatoes are mainly consumed as a food, or there are different products like potato chips and other products can be made from potato. So we from SELCO try to check what are the different nodes where energy intervention can make sense. So if you see, there are 8 interventions we had proposed here. So the drip irrigation of this potato cultivation, to the agricultural insecticide sprayer, then fencing solution, because in lot of the places there are problems from wild boar and wild animals. So how do you, like when you go through the entire report, it gives a very good idea that how you protect animals from a mild DC voltage, which actually doesn't affect the animal, but it actually protects the entire crop, right? And also very important part, which is cold storage, because cold storage in potato, it really makes sense. And I think right now in the countries, I mean, it's not very much very much done within all the regular practices. So and at the end of the product, if you see chips making and all such things, we can propose some products like potato chips, peeler, and then a chips making machine, right? So these are some of the examples, whatever we told, like cold storages and grading machine and fencing, etc. And at the end of the value chains, it was gundruk. Gundruk is basically the vegetables consist mustard greens, radish, spinach, cauliflower leaves, etc. And which is a very popular food in Nepal. Approximately 2,000 tons of gundruk, and most gundruk is produced in Nepal. So when we go to the value chain of entire process, so the farmers level side, it is pretty same, and in the traders side, it is mainly storage and sales. And for the preparation level, it is mainly done mainly done in the domestic level. So collection happens, then wilting, and then shred, and then place it in earthen pot, and they cover the leaves, then they ferment, and they put hot water and they dry it, right? So within the entire process, similarly for this value chain, we also had identified a lot of different kind of solar PV based and thermal based applications, and all those are given below, right? From the drip irrigation, if I mean for gundruk, for the small vegetables, leafy vegetables, for a small consumer's point of view, there are not much opportunities, but from a farmer's point of view, there are several opportunities where we are given 8 such processes where energy intervention can be done, and definitely it can become a very attractive scenario within all the countries, especially in Nepal and Bhutan. So if we go to the next point, which is the viability assessment and actionable business case study. So we are done for Nepal. We got some data from a group of organization, which is Indigenous Crop District Association in Nepal. And the challenges we saw there: lack of irrigation, lack of technology intervention in farming, shortage of labor, their training to other kind of activities, and lack of strong value chain and all such things. And already we have shown what are the opportunities are there. And if we just convert those opportunities into the business case. So what we had seen, they have actually a capacity, I mean, particularly for this organization, has a capacity to grow 5,000 kg, whereas actual demand is 10,000 kg. Means they are not able to meet the demand whenever the requirement is high. So usage of modern technology and different kind of integrated in a renewable energy based solution, if we can actually make a part of the entire process, then the entire game changes, right? So just an idea, if we provide in this business study. Of course, we cannot give the entire details within this presentation because time is very short. When you go through the entire report, everything is given in details. So if we go to the next slide. So we have seen that if we can integrate at least the irrigation and some other kind of conventional process, if they are replaced with renewable energy based application, then approximately 30,000 Nepali rupees we can save for the entrepreneur or for the society or for the cooperative. And whereas the initial investment for applying all these things will be approximately 2,80,700 rupees. So if we compare with the conventional grid application, many of the cases which is not available, and if we compare with the conventional energy usage, like diesel based application, many places they use DG sets. So definitely the payback period comes around 3 to 4 years. Whereas if you compare with the grid electricity, which will be subsidized in many cases, it comes somewhere around 9 to 10 years. So similarly, if we go through the actionable business case study for processing point of view, which is mostly done manually. I mean, involvement of a mechanized threshing machine, and it is solar powered or renewable energy powered, and then addition with grader, distoner, and huller and sealing machine. So approximately, just for that ideal case, it will be an investment of 26,83,000 Nepali rupee, right? So I would like to ICIMOD and IRENA team to share the entire report, so that all the participants, they can go through each of the case studies. We are going to give example of Buckwheat here. And at the end of the presentation, what we can conclude here, that this business case studies, whatever we have given there, it is based on a lot of assumptions, but it can be really a very good try if we actually can pilot some of the applications within the field, and which will be helping a lot to eradicate poverty and vulnerability through the usage of particularly solar thermal and solar PV based applications. And thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about or to do the research on this entire 4 value chains within the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. And thank you so much thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shripati and Dipayant, for the comprehensive presentation. Let me now in Ali Yase, who is the program officer looking after the decentralized renewable energy institutional cooperation and a partnership arena, to moderate the discussions on the presentation we just had from SELCO. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you very much, Mevangji, and thank you so much, the SELCO team and Anu, for the very nice presentations. And again, a very warm thank you to all the participants here. And I can see that we're already starting with a lot of questions. Just if I can perhaps suggest that when we can look into the questions which are already posted in the chat, but also if we can use the hand raise function, and then when the floor is provided to you, if you could perhaps just take it very briefly, just mention the organization you represent, and if applicable, and the country and the region that specifically you would like to talk about. So perhaps we can start with some questions which have already been raised in the chat. I see there were questions coming from FAO regarding the use of biogas, and I understand that it was responded that perhaps in the high mountain areas, that's it's because of the cold temperatures, biogas is perhaps not very optimal solution. But perhaps if there could be a comment from either SELCO or the ICIMOD colleagues on whether this is also the case within the hilly areas. I think maybe we can start with that.
Yeah, sure. Abid here. So out of total 41 surveyed enterprises, so we found only one using biogas. So that was from hilly areas. So it has a lot of limitations in actually high altitude mountain areas. Somehow in hilly areas we found one farmer enterprise who is using dung to prepare biogas to be used in the process. So that's why we did not consider it as a kind of solution or a major renewable energy source. So because of its limitations.
Right. And I understand that most of the analysis focused on the more higher altitude areas. I think that was the larger part of the catchment for this assessment. Right. Thank you. Then I think there was one more question regarding the that in the chat coming from Deepak Rijal, that potato is cultivated in different seasons. And the energy requirements change as well. If perhaps there could be a comment regarding, regarding this question,
Thank you so much. I think when we did the survey, it was found that on January, February, sowing started from February, March, and then in May, things started. Harvesting was done in July, August, processing. So usually we did in this harvesting period of July, August for potato. and then processing and marketing happened afterwards. So yeah, we did a study for July and August harvest season.
And this Dipayan here, Aliji Dipayan here. Just to add, yes, we had considered those seasonal variation and all for potato. See, when just an example, if I give, if it is a cold value chain, like when we talk about storing seed potatoes, it is all not only about the seed potatoes. We can also plant some other, other vegetables with that. So it can be mostly given on a cooperative model where you don't only plant for a particular vegetables, but if you know how many farmers are there located within the region, and you make sure the sufficient capacity you provide, and when there is a lean period, you can also give an opportunity to store some other vegetables as well. So I think that's how the financial also works accordingly.
Thank you very much, Dipayan. So now I see already a few hand raised. So we'll start with Gopal K. Sarangi. Please, you can post your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Again, I have two quick sets of comments on the presentations. Very interesting presentations on the
sorry,
setup.
If I may request, if you, just for the interest of it, if you could let us know, the organization you're from.
Yeah, I'm Gopal Sarangi from Terry School of Advanced Studies, New Delhi, India.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this. As I said, I have two quick sets of questions on the very interesting presentations made by the presenters. One is, when you look at the decentralized energy interventions, are you looking at individual farmers or are you looking at cooperatives? Because certain instruments could possibly be utilized by the cooperatives. Hence, your per unit cost could possibly be reduced given the socioeconomic profile of the farmers in the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region. So maybe think of, when you think of business models, maybe you also need to consider that whether certain interventions can possibly be used by the larger group of farmers so that the per unit cost gets reduced. So this is one. Second is, when you think of value chains, are you also looking at extended backward linkages and forward linkages? For instance, what are the possible changes that are happening at the manufacturing level? Okay, could be possibly one of the backward linkages. Similarly, as you know, that decentralized energy interventions come with a lot of co-benefits, right? So is it possible that you should also identify certain co-benefits? For instance, what would be its impacts on the local livelihood structure? Are they going to be changed? Is it possible to map?
Thank you, Gopalji. Thanks for. Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead. I think we.
Thanks, Ali.
Yeah.
So thanks, Gopalji. Thanks for your question. So the first question, if I answer, yes, we had considered both the scenarios for an individual level and for a cooperative level as well. So if you see the potato value chain, it can be definitely, like when we talk about coal value chain, definitely it's from a cooperative perspective. It's not a single or individual farmer's perspective. And similarly, when we talk about Yak value chain at the farmer side, definitely it's an individual perspective. And to answer your second question, so yeah, there are co-impacts. In some of the cases, we try to capture those things, like which may not be reflected within that report or in the presentation, but we also try to understand that by proposing this kind of methods or processes within the value chain or incorporating within the value chain, how much the overall demand of the entire if I'm talking about 10 farmers in a village, so how much diesel requirement you can actually reduce, or how much transportation cost you actually reduce, because whenever you are having a huge like 10 farmers have grown huge potato and buyers are not there, so they send that potato to the nearest cold value chains where they're storing it. So like if they can have some kind of ownership over these cold storage processes, then how much cost they're reducing. So this kind of things definitely were calculated. And if you have any other inputs also where you think this there can be a value addition for the entire processes, definitely you are welcome, sir. We are always ready to take your inputs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dipayan, for the response. I'll now move to Gaurav Kaur, who's requested to raise a question.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you, ICIMOD and IRENA, for such a wonderful presentation. It gave a lot of insights in an area which requires probably immediate intervention, at least in Hindu Kush Himalayan region. I am from Global Himalayan Expedition from India. We work on remote areas like Ladakh and northeast part of India, which is basically HKH, and on renewable energy, majority of which is solar. And the sectors are electrification, education, livelihood, healthcare, and now farming. So we are trying to develop a model in farming on two major aspects. One is drip irrigation and greenhouse combined technology, which can probably increase the yield of the crop. The second is if we can find some technology which is low powered in terms of pulp extraction and juice extraction. Now, there are a couple of things which I would want to know apart from this, which is in line with the discussion that we are having today. One is in terms of investment and financing. So when you look at the numbers, the cost of the equipment, if you design entire model, the cost is relatively high. Now, have we thought of any ideal size of the farm, and what would be the increase in yield if there is any, so that we can actually calculate the break even if it is for individual or even for society. So that is one question. If this is in report, then I would probably like to know more about that. The second is, have you also thought of or recommend any model to link it with the market? Now, the problem in the areas where we operate is these are very remote in nature. So at times there are not even roads. So there are a couple of benefits of using renewable energy. One is, of course, environment. Second is social benefits, that they can increase the yield for self-consumption, and the third aspect is if they can sell it and they can earn some livelihood out of it. Now, is there a linkage, market linkage model that you have brainstormed that can be provided apart from the conventional one, which is there? Is there a cost associated to that? Is there a recommendation that from your side? Yeah, so that's all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Gore. And I think I'll just would like to make one comment that we will be sharing the report once it has been finalized. We're in the process of finalizing that. And one of the reasons to have this workshop was to collect, the impressions and the reactions on the initial analysis from, the experts from the region, so that we can, further refine the report. But now I'll hand over, I believe, perhaps the SELCO team, maybe you would like to respond to the question.
Sure. Thank you, Gaurav, for the question, and great to hear from you. Just to sort of quickly answer, great to know that, I think some of the models that you're working in, the drip irrigation and also bringing a DRE solution for the greenhouse, etc. So for example, for the pulp extraction, yes, I think we have been sort of looking at some of these very I mean, you rightly said that that there is a need for the like the fruit processing at the decentralized level, and even if you look at things like tomato or mango, and obviously not in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region, but even in other parts of the country as well, where a lot of these are sort of centralized ecosystems have been built for it. So but fortunately there are pulping technologies which are from 0.5 HP to 1 HP, where you actually sort of these pulpers and juicers are available, which I think probably we could provide the connect with you as well, which we are not necessarily for for the value chain that we are considered here, but for example, for tomato and other fruits, there are these technologies that are available, and there are some stakeholders that we have been in touch with. We could sort of bring that connect with you. So these are the efficient that we are testing, and probably it'll be great to sort of get your inputs on that as well. And in terms of market linkages, I would also invite probably ICIMOD also to sort of pitch in for this, and also Deepayan. But you're absolutely correct that especially when you see the increase in production because of the DRE intervention, there is a need to build that market linkage to it. And we've been seeing in a lot of our interventions as well, there have been some innovative models such as like an online sort of platform that is built for the SHG. So there is an interesting model here that sort of works over here with one of the SHG, the self-help group that we work here, that SHG actually has been trained to do like sort of a WhatsApp marketing. But again, I think there are a lot of other considerations for sure will have to be taken in terms of the availability of the network and these sort of digital platforms as well in the Hindu-Kush Himalaya region. But I mean, we're just sort of trying to get some learnings from other places where these innovative market linkages that have been tested for, especially when it's done in a very small, sort of farmer group. But I mean, any sort of learnings that ICIMOD and Deepan did like to share on the market linkages as well. So.
Gaurav, thanks for your question. Just to touch upon the cost part which you had mentioned. So when we did the calculation, we just kept everything in mind that when we wrote about these 4 value chains, I mean vegetables and buckwheat, those data came from Nepal, and yak and potato data came from Bhutan. So when we gave the financial analysis, we tried to keep the currency of those particular countries. So when you think from Indian perspective, Indian rupee perspective, 1 Indian rupee equals to 1.6 Nepal. And I mean, similarly, 1 Nepali rupee equals to 1.6 Nepali rupee equals to 1 Bhutanese currency. So when we think about the value chain, we also take care about the transportation, service costs, etc. So when you think from Indian perspective, yes, we have some kind of existing infrastructure over here. But when we think about a new geography or new scenario, definitely we incorporate the additional cost for that, right? So that's the reason, at the beginning stage or at the pilot stage, those costs might look little high. But when we actually, make it as a policy, definitely the cost will reduce and it becomes very much viable in those particular countries. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. So if Mr. Gold, do you have a follow-up to that? If you could quickly.
No, I think we can connect offline to discuss the technology and the online platform, which was recently told. And as you have already mentioned, that is it is in the initial stage, and there would be probably some changes in the modeling and everything. And there is also a follow-up report. So I think that should suffice.
Thank you for that. I'll now move to Mr. Olivier Dubois. I believe he has raised as well. Over to you, Olivier.
Great. So I think this is something important. And the reason why I'm saying this is that our work on renewable energy in food chains often shows that financially speaking, it may not break even. You may have problems, but then you need to look at other benefits like job creation, environmental benefits, and so on. And I have seen those already in the benefit analysis. And the reason why this is interesting, because at the country level, you can say, well, you have some binding commitments like the NDCs on climate change, like SDGs. And if you only look at the financial aspect, renewables might not compete with grid electricity, but then you have to look beyond that. And this is where public-private partnerships can come into place, and government regulations are important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very, very important point, and it's well noted. Certainly, I think that when looking at the benefit of renewables, one has to consider the overall socioeconomic dimension. As you mentioned, I mean there is job creation. There's also reduction of drudgery, which can lead to alternative time availability for additional income generation, and can lead to increase in different aspirations of the communities as well. So certainly, I would say that this is a very important point, and I believe that in the report this aspect would be sort of covered perhaps in a more qualitative way. I see one more hand raised.
Yeah, Ali, I see Phunso and Tsering from Bhutan, their hands being up.
Actually, we just wanted to come in and give our initial thoughts on the presentation. Very, very interesting and good presentation that was made here. The Department of Renewable Energy, from Department of Renewable Energy, actually myself, Finso, the director, and I have Chief Engineer Pasang and Executive Engineer Duba with me, and also from Department of Cottage and Small Industries, we have Sringdema. She's the chief of one of the chiefs in the department. So we just wanted to make a quick comment that while the presentation was very interesting for us, we also had on the top of the concerns actually we have expressed. Our only the only thing that we could at this point of time think about is this kind of decentralized renewable energy interventions would be at a very small scale, and maybe at a farmer's level, individual level, or maximum a cooperative, which would not be a large scale. The cost comes to unit cost and economy of scale. That was one of our biggest concern. So in the report, like earlier speakers mentioned, if the rationale for having a very good kind of policies and regulatory mechanisms can be highlighted very strongly in terms of implications linked to other aspects, not just cost aspect. And on the cost itself, I was also wondering, this kind of interventions that I actually got to hear in the presentation were not really off-the-shelf kind of products, but rather customized for particular intervention. So such customization and unit production would be significantly more expensive than off-the-shelf products. So those kind of things are our first reaction. Otherwise, the presentation itself was very interesting, and we are actually looking forward to, like other people mentioned, towards the full report so that we can really go through, and if we have some constructive feedback, we would be able to give you, and also at the same time, we would be able to actually be guided by the work all the experts have done. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you so much. I unfortunately didn't get, there were parts where you broke up, but I think if, in terms to react to the comments or the question raised here, if what I was able to capture was there was some, concern raised on the, the scale of the interventions, and also another on the, the requirement, the need to customize solutions. If we can have a very quick, response on that, perhaps, either from the, again, I feel this perhaps goes to the SELCO colleagues, because you were more on the analysis. I think it's more goes into the analysis that you carried out. So if we could have a quick response, and if I may also request those who have already, unless you have another question, if because I see some hands still raised, it'll be easier for me to keep track if you could put the hands down, unless you have a follow-up question. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Aliji, and thanks also for the question, Mr. Funso and others as well. So just to answer the first part of the question, when you said, sir, it's yes, I think you're absolutely correct that maybe when you look at the individual model and even the cooperative model, the cost might sort of look higher, and then how do we look at making sustainable, and what sort of support that needs to come in. So if you could take from our experience of working with let's say a solar powered cold storage solution, yes, I think it is a cost sort of intensive technology, but then the way we sort of look to sort of work with the local governments, for example, our interventions in the state of Odisha and even Northeast, the way we look at it is how do we sort of push this as an infrastructure that would actually create the local economies. So that's where, I mean, we keep sort of bringing this technology of the airports and other infrastructure that government brings in to create that, to sort of spur the local economy. And that's where we say, okay, maybe if you look at the whole cold storage solution, there are different components to it, the cooling aspect of it, then you have the infrastructure, then you have the, the sort of the solar component to it. So even if we sort of look at these different components and we look at, okay, so some part of it, how could we sort of, put that initial support from the local sort of, local governments, local government structure, so that it enables the local, economy, like the local farmers and local farmer groups to actually bring in higher, productivity, bring in higher, value addition to their product, so that kickstarts the economy in the local region. So yes, you're absolutely correct that it needs to have a very sort of, the right combination of, the sort of subsidies, the capital sort of supports coming in from the local governments, as well as the end users, and also from the sort of financing entities as well. So for example, we work very closely with the financing entities. Let's say for example, if it's a solar powered rice huller solution, then we look at how do we sort of look at the financial model, the increase in income that's coming for the group. Then how do we look at what the sort of EMI level that it makes sense for the group to have that technology viable, and then we look at the financial model around it, and the remaining could be initially supported with the sort of supported with the grant support as well. So I think it's not like a very silver bullet solution for each of the solution, but it needs to have a right combination of all of these, and also considering the infrastructure support. How do we look at sort of foundational support to bring in the local supporting the local economies as well. So that's yeah, I mean
Thank you so much, Shripati. Also, I see that we have here friends from UNIDO, and unfortunately, Mr. Navaraj had to leave quickly. But perhaps if we have someone representing the government of Bhutan, it would be great to hear from you as well. I mean, we recently cooperated with Bhutan on the renewables readiness assessment. But perhaps if we can have any, at the moment now I do not see additional hands raised, and I think we're fairly good in terms of time as well. But if, I mean, if there are any further specifically, maybe as I mentioned, if friends from UNIDO or anyone from the other governments, I see. Yes, Mr. Martin Lukmeyer, please. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Here's Martin Lukmeyer. I'm working for UNIDO, the energy department, and I'm particularly responsible for coordinating the global network of regional sustainable energy centers. And I would like to thank ICIMOD, who is hosting the REACH, one of the regional centers, and IRENA particularly for organizing this event, and particularly taking this thematic area of energy and food value chains further. And I think we see some very excellent insights already where we could integrate better renewable energy technologies. And from our side, UNIDO is very much engaged in the application of this knowledge. So I think it would be very interesting, let's just say in the REACH context, in the Himalaya Hindu-Kush context, to come up with a programmatic approach to, how we create now this market for these technologies, and how we introduce it in the countries, let's to say, through a regional approach, basically to do that faster, to create economies of scale. So that is one point. So maybe as a follow-up of the workshop or of this assignment, to think about how we could come up with a practical, programmatic regional approach where we could work together jointly, IRENA, UNIDO, ICIMOD, and REACH, to move that forward. And I think in this work, there are some very interesting insights also for other regions. So basically, when you look also at regional centers you're working with, also together with you, IRENA, in Africa, for example, this perspective of value chain development in the food industry, let's say the rural food industry, and the energy side of it, I think it's not very well analyzed systematically also in other regions. I think this work, what you're doing here together with ICIMOD, I think is very valuable also for other regions, and we could also look at how we could replicate that approach. And finally, also a colleague of mine is participating. Her name is Laia Barbara. She is working with us on the Vienna Energy Forum, because one focus of the Vienna Energy Forum is on food, energy, water, climate adaptation nexus. And she's also listening, very interested, and she might also approach you afterwards to get in some discussion how we could maybe incorporate this work in the Vienna Energy Forum, which will take place from 5th to 6th of July, virtually in Vienna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lugmeyer. And certainly, I think from IRENA's perspective as well, this is a very interesting, you can say, work stream, and certainly we would be interested to see how perhaps more can be done. Specifically, we're looking into how this work could be translated. It could lead to more deployment on the ground, and how perhaps all of us in UNIDO could collaborate on this. And also, I completely agree on replicating this regional approach, perhaps in other areas as well, where we're active. And you mentioned Africa as well. So I think fully agreed, and looking forward to speaking with your colleague on the Vienna Energy Forum as well, as you indicated. Right. So thank you. I would like to, I think we're fairly short on time now, so maybe I see one question, one hand raised, Mr. Niraj Kumar Basnet.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. This is Niraj Basnet from Nabil Bank. I'm heading in the SME department at Nabil Bank. We are also working on looking on to having a separate sustainable banking department, and we think that bank plays a major role in development of the country, of the economy, and we should, as a corporate citizen, we should think that our communities should be developed so that we have enough ground to enough ground for the place for sustainable banking as well. So it was a nice opportunity for us to get knowledge and to participate in this event. And thank you for ICIMOD. And we think that this regional concept is very good, and this the activities that have been done in various other countries that can be replicated in Nepal as well, because these hilly regions, they are like Karnali, they have enough opportunity to grow, and they have enough potential to be economically sustainable if we participate in a jointly in having a right product for that area. So I think this renewable energy shall be correlated along with other economic activities, and so that the whole community can be economically sustainable for a long term, rather than having it on a broken pieces, as like just Funso had said. If we do it in broken small pieces for few farmers and few cooperative only, that may not be sustainable for long, and that may not be valuable for even for the community, even for a bank, or even for the country as well. So I think we need to have for CELTOs that those have been working and have been providing us this various knowledge in this segment. We need to develop a different type of product, so to accommodate all the geographies. They are underprivileged, so that we could have joint partnership with development agencies and banking as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very well taken comment as well. Particularly, I think that the financing, and I think it's going to be a very important part of the whole equation here. I think since we're really now, I think short on time, I would like to give the opportunity if we have any friends from the other countries from the HKH region who would like to perhaps react to the presentations or maybe share their insights. I see in the chat there were some good points raised by our friends from Bangladesh, but if from there, Pakistan or any other country, if there's again, it's be happy to hear your thoughts. I see Mr. Asad, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, and Ali, and all the distinguished panelists. How are you? It's good to have this session, and the findings so far definitely are depicting the true picture of the HHK region, and somehow most of them would be interrelatable with the areas over here in Pakistan, and we can also build upon the studies which have happened over here under with other development partners like electrification in marginalized areas and other because extending the grid till last mile concepts are there, but different aspects have to be coupled with it, and with this food and agriculture chain, if integrated with energizing to meet the heating and cooling load demand. Cooling would be negligible, but heating and cooking demands, in fact, of the people in communities living in this HHK region, which is also ensuring them the livelihood through small businesses. I think those business models should be pitched upon, coupled with microfinancing and things like that. I think we have local case studies over here, which Aga Khan Foundation have implemented community involvement, role of community in getting energized the communities which are far flung from the grid areas. So I think it's a good startup, and we can definitely see how the common things can come up, and if there are some technical you can say lackings in terms of testing or testing laboratories or some financial models, community based operational models. So definitely we can exchange some good practices, and we'll be sharing with you and with the ICIMOD team as well from Pakistan that how the things worked over here in terms of the success stories, and would be happy to get the success stories from the other countries and see how to prioritize them. So that's my submission for the time being.
Thank you so much, Asad, and for the valuable comments. And also, if I may just add, we originally had planned to carry out the data collection in all countries of the HKH region, but unfortunately, with the pandemic, we were kind of limited but in terms of the overall selection of the value chains, we looked into identifying those which would have an outreach and which would be applicable across the region. And I'm very happy to hear your first comment where you said that this would be the analysis presented here can would be translatable to the conditions in Pakistan. And so I think, and certainly we would be happy to receive more information from your side on the different success stories. And I think that this exchange of information would certainly be very useful. And so thank you. I think maybe perhaps as a final comment, if we have any, if we could have anyone, otherwise maybe because I feel we've reached the end of our time. Right. Right. Then thank you everyone. I think we've had an excellent session, a lot of interest, and a lot of interesting points raised from all the experts here in the region, and also from our friends from FAO and UNIDO and other institutes as well, who've really contributed. Perhaps we can, I think, move to a formal closing. Maybe I'll hand over back to Mr. Mivang, I think, for the final closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. I think you did a wonderful job in really engaging the participants in the very useful and important discussions. Well, what goes up comes down. So we had a good beginning and coming to the end. To really close the sessions, may I now invite the closing remark from IRENA's side.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it's been extremely a useful conversation and discussion. Again, on behalf of IRENA, it's been a great pleasure to work with ICIMOD, with SELCO, and I've learned a great deal of value in this important webinar. I think few takeaways. I think the need to increase the use of renewable energy is fundamental, and I'm sure the experts have provided in-depth value for the future work of this important endeavor. Without further ado, I wanted to extend a warm welcome and sincere appreciation from International Renewable Energy Agency for ICIMOD and the other partners. Most importantly, the people who are working on the ground. We were hoping that we could have been physically meeting it, but I'm confident that in the future we can meet physically here and get to know each other, and perhaps at least we could visit some of these sites so that we can get a first-hand experience in doing so. Special thanks to my team, Yasir Prasoon, and the team behind working with this, and obviously the teams on the ground, ICIMOD and SELCO Foundation. Thank you very much. Once again, look forward to working with you and make this success, and perhaps we can also learn from these and share these experiences in other parts of the world. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Damdaji, for very inspiring words and very encouraging indeed, and we look forward really to also to interact with IRENA. May I now invite Mr. Thomas Pulankip, the Director for SELCO, for the closing remark from SELCO.
Thank you, Mevangji. It was a pleasure to be in the webinar today on the decentralized renewable energy solutions for the food value chains in the HKH region. And I sincerely thank both IRENA and ICIMOD, who not only gave us this opportunity to be part of this webinar, but also undertake the study which was outlined by my colleague Shripati and Deepayan earlier. SELCO has always believed that access to renewable energy can catalyze development initiatives, and it can make a significant difference to development outcomes, be it in health, be it in education, or any other aspects of development. And I don't think agricultural value chains and food value chains are any different. We have seen the various opportunities that are there in the four value chains that of buckwheat, potato, yak, and gundruk that we had analyzed and suggested options that are there. But having said that, I also would like to put a caveat saying that unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, most of the information that we had was secondhand, and we were not able to get into the depth that we would have liked to get into a study like this, so that our recommendations of specific technologies and solutions could have been spot on. But having said that, I think today's today's webinar was a valuable feedback for us to be able to incorporate some of the missing elements that was there in our study. And I thank all the participants who have provided your feedback so that we can improve on our final report before we submit it to ICIMOD. I thank all of you once again. A special thanks to all those who provided the feedback, and to ICIMOD and IRENA for making this possible. On behalf of SELCO Foundation and SELCO Solar Light Private Limited, the organization that undertook this study, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much for your kind words. It was a pleasure working with SELCO for us. Last but not the least, let me invite Nanki Ko for the closing remarks. Over to you, Nanki.
Thank you, Mewang. And let me start by first thanking colleagues at SELCO and IRENA, and of course ICIMOD, for some great presentations. But I think along with that, thank all the participants. The discussion was very rich and some great comments in the virtual dialogue, but also in the chat box. So thank you very much for that. I think one of the main things that stood out to me was that there really is a need to transform energy access in the Hindu Kush Himalaya, especially when we are thinking of mountain communities or small enterprises or more the sort of productive end use of energy in our region. So that was something that came out quite clearly. And then also it's a big scope to scale up these, to scale up different types of renewable energy solutions. So for that, I think as we move forward, it's very encouraging, and I would encourage all of us to work together to answer some of the points that came out from this discussion. One, to come up with context-specific solutions when we are talking about renewable energy. There was quite a lot on a dearth of knowledge when we are talking about cost-benefit, and also when we are talking about benefits. For us to really start articulating the benefits, whether it's emission reduction, energy access, or job creation. But that's, again, something that if we can start articulating better, I'm sure the investment into this area will also flow from that. So with that, I think it was finally very encouraging to hear from participants from NABIL or NREP, ACPC, UNIDO, that these are areas that everybody is working on together. So look forward to collaborating and taking this work forward. Thank you, Mevang.
Thank you, Nanki. Thank you very much. This brings to the end of our webinar today. Thank you to all of you over there and also the colleagues who are sitting here in where we are conducting this event. Thank you so much.